talk about Zeruiah and Troy. Last week we saw Troy's mom, Karen, pop off on social media after her and Troy got into it. And she was making all these claims like this house that Zeruiah and Troy had just moved into. She claimed they did not buy it. She said they were renting it for $2,000 a month. She believed that was not going to be sustainable for them long term. She alleged that they weren't even able to fully pay the rent in the place they had just moved from, and that place was cheaper than where they had just moved. So Troy ended up clapping back on his Facebook, and he goes on, saying a lot of what he normally says. Oh, look at our success. This is my truth. And he says, look, I can't fake this. I just came home 6 months ago after doing 7 years in prison. You can't fake that, and I'm sorry, but can't no TV show fund our lifestyle. So he's trying to act like all this money that him and Zeruiah have been having recently, he is giving credit all to them and off their hard work, I guess. And then Zeruiah, after the last episode, she made a post on her Facebook and she said, I want to thank everyone who reached out about last week's episode. One of the reasons Troy told me to continue was to tell my story. At 3 years old, I learned I was adopted, and remember, you guys heard it here first on my channel, and it's something that I battled to gain closure with for 32 years. All of Zeruiah's siblings are adopted. I believe she has like 9 siblings in total. My cries you heard were 11,688 days of trauma. I cried out. Just me, the producer, and my camera guys. It was a heavy topic that needed to be released, and I've had so many that were adopted and those who've given their kids up for adoption, and they have thanked me for telling my story. I don't resent my parents. I now understand. I forgive my birth mother, and I could never be mad at my dad because he'd even know me until 2 years ago. I grew up in a 2-parent home, and I have an amazing mother and father, and they are my parents, and that's just that. I love them with all my heart, and God blessed me to have 2 sets of parents because God has already known if 2 Pisces made a stubborn bull, she was going to need an army. LOL, no, but seriously, thank you all. And you guys remember what Karen was claiming about the father doing some things to the son? I almost wonder if maybe that's why Zeruiah is so angry as something happened in her childhood that was out of her control. And I mean, I don't know if what Karen is saying has any truth to it. I definitely believe some of what she's saying has some validity to it. And then she posted this picture of her and Troy when she went to go visit him in prison, and she's pointing out, oh, look at her eyes look all empty, and you could just tell that we were hopeful for our future. We were going through it, but we knew that the finish line was right around the corner and we could finally be together. And she feels like this was kind of a sign. She shared this picture of her and Troy in prison, and it looks like they're in front of a lake. Then she showed this picture of her backyard, which is a lake, and she's like, look, this is a sign. And I don't know, she's into all kind of stuff like that, like the psychic and signs like that, so she was just pointing that out. Then Zeruiah posted on one of her social media pages, I can't find the exact post because I saw it in a Facebook group, and I'm a member of so many Love After Lockup Facebook groups, I couldn't find the exact one. I wish I would have screenshot it. But she ended up announcing that she's done being so active on social media and putting her business out on social media. She said that, it was fun while it lasted, but she's going to take a break. And she's still posting, so it doesn't seem like she's going to be completely inactive on social media. It just seems like her and Troy aren't going to be going live all day, every day. She acts like, there's a time and place for everything. We had our time. I'm moving on. And I just feel like a big reason why she's not online as much anymore is because she's been working as a teacher, and I feel like that's taking up a lot of her time. And I do feel like that it would be an issue for her to be a teacher of young students to be continuously going online and smoking weed all day, every day. I mean, some parents may not care, but you may find a parent that sees that and thinks it's inappropriate and ends up complaining, and it could affect her job for how she's acting off the clock. Especially considering the last time that she was really beefing with Karen, she was at work and she was teaching, and I know that she was somehow able to find a way to argue with Karen and get in her comments while she was working, and I'm sure that was just bringing drama and negative energy to the workplace doing stuff like that. Now let's talk about this last episode. This last episode was so freaking boring to me. Oh my gosh. There's barely anything that I feel like was memorable or really worth talking about. But we're just going to go ahead and talk about what we remember. Usually I try to watch the show like once just to watch it and sit back and entertain myself. Then I watch it again to write a script, and I try to like watch it again sometimes to see if there's anything I missed. But I can't even do that this time because the episode was so boring. I was literally falling asleep trying to watch it again. So I'm just gonna go off what I remember. Zeruiah ends up finding out that her parents' home caught on fire, and Karen has been questioning this whole house fire and feeling like the parents may be up to some like funny business trying to do like an insurance scam or something. But Zeruiah claims that this was a totally innocent house fire. Some kind of electrical fire just started and it caught the house on fire. And when Zeruiah and Troy pulled up, they were expecting like the whole house to be like nearly burned to the ground, but it just looked like there's a little damage on the roof or by the window near her brother's. She started freaking out, talking about how she could have lost her brother, even though her brother wasn't even home that night. But I get it, you know, she's thinking about what could have happened if he was there. Thank God he wasn't. And then she decided to hit up her mom and go talk to her mother because she felt like her mom had a chip on her shoulder, because she feels like her mom is probably thinking that since Zeruiah was messing with the psychic, that she let like the devil in and the devil caused this house fire. She was just thinking way too much into it. So she calls her mom and her mom lets her come over, and her mom said she was not mad at her, but she still told her that she needs to refrain from seeing a psychic. She don't believe in anything outside of just doing what the Lord wants you to do. Then Zeruiah opened up about being adopted. She found out when she was 3 years old she was adopted, and she said all her life she really struggled to feel like she belonged. She felt like she was never good enough because she felt like if she wasn't good enough for her parents, and if they didn't want her, then who else would ever want her in life? And she said that she ended up deciding to reach out to her birth mother after she turned 18, and that turned completely south quick. She thought that they were going to have, you know, this really close relationship. It was going to be like having a bonus mom. But instead, the mom pretty much got an attitude with Zeruiah and said, look, we had a closed adoption. I did close adoption so you wouldn't reach out to me, because I guess when she adopted Zeruiah, she wanted to close that door in her life and never open it again. And I guess Zeruiah reached out to her dad. I can't really remember what she said about her dad. I think they had a relationship for a while, but it just wasn't as close as she was hoping it would be. I just don't understand how someone could be like that. If I had a child and brought them in the world, and even if I put them up for adoption, I feel like if they just want to reach out to me later in life, I would want to be there for them, unless like the mother is physically unable to be there for her daughter, like financially or something. And maybe that's why she's just trying to cut off having a relationship with her altogether. Maybe she feels guilty about her decision to place Zeruiah up for adoption and is ashamed of the circumstances, so she would just rather ignore it altogether. Or maybe she has like some personal struggles going on, like maybe she's struggling with drugs or drinking or mental illness or poverty. And I do think it was either Zeruiah that was the one that pointed it out, that she gets a lot of her mental health issues from her mother. Maybe that's why she's not interested in a relationship with Zeruiah. Maybe she doesn't want Zeruiah to see how much she really struggles internally. But that is pretty much it, guys. That's everything that I can remember from the last episode. Oh yeah, and then Troy went to Zeruiah's father's church because they're talking about setting up their nonprofit at Zeruiah's father's church, which I think that's a good idea. At least that way they can have something where they don't pay much or pay any rent at all, while they try to figure out if they can find 50 different clients so they can finally start getting funding for their nonprofit. But I'm thinking that they probably didn't have too much luck getting funding like they're hoping if Zeruiah had to go back to teaching. I feel like she would be going full balls to the wall if that was her main moneymaker. And Troy was pressured to give a sermon by Zeruiah's dad and explain why people should come to their nonprofit. And I was watching Auntie's advice, and she made a good point. Like, this was Troy's time to point out his qualifications, why people should come to their nonprofit and get support, and why he's equipped for the job. But instead, he was focusing on his father passing, and I understand his father passing is a big part of his story, but at the same time, people want to hear, how are you going to help them? What tools and knowledge do you know that you can give them that they're not going to get somewhere else? And it seems like Troy really doesn't even know. But that is it for this video, guys. Let me know what you guys think about everything in the comments below. I'm sorry those sirens in the background are loud as hell, but let me know what you guys think. Give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.